Yeah, this guy started three of the first four games on the
What's
road
good,
for head-to-head to
YouTube?
Los
Flash
Angeles and
speaks back.
Phoenix after tonight. Then a big
Just sitting there
loss
watching
against
this New York
Dallas.
Liberty Chicago Sky demolishing of my Chicago Sky. I was flipping back and forth between the Fever and Atlanta too, and that was a pretty close one. Sophie Floppingham made sure they sealed that win. You know what I mean? That was a ridiculous flop that happened between her and Ryan Howard. They called on her, and then that kind of pretty much sealed the game. But the good thing for the Fever was they were able to win a game where Caitlin Clark struggled scoring from the floor. Caitlin Clark wasn't even particularly good, even in addition in this particular game, and they were able to win. So that's a good sign for them. I don't know if it means they're a top tier team. I still don't see that because I don't really think the Atlanta Dream is that good. They're going to try to make it seem like Fever fans who are a little bit in denial probably going to try to make it seem like Atlanta's better than they are. But Atlanta is nothing, man. But I'm looking at the Chicago game. Listen, there's no need for me to pull out stats and do all of that. They got their ass kicked. Pretty much nobody on the team played well, as far as I'm concerned. Angel Reese was horrible tonight from the floor. She did her thing as far as rebounds, but from the floor, scoring, she was pretty horrible. Whether in the post, she wasn't good. On the elbow, she wasn't good. None of that stuff worked. Either Tyler Marsh is trying some new things with her, which may or may not work in the long run against New York right now. Whatever they're trying to, they're not ready. That's not going to work against this particular team. Other things I'm saying, Camila Cardoso definitely struggled as well. It could be that the matchup against New York is just one of those matchups. Sometimes, I mean, certain teams got certain other teams number like that, and New York is the champion. So there's no real shame in losing to him, but you want to avoid these blowouts, man. This is you starting off the season with two blowouts. Um, for me, I'm not jumping the gun that a lot of people I'm hearing are jumping. As far as get rid of Tyler Marsh, uh, you know, all of that. I mean, I get it, but I still want to see the team play against some lesser competition before I go that far. Um, he's definitely so far has not been impressive. He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't even look like the type of guy that would command a lot of respect from the team. He looks very passive, sitting there looking like Kermit the Frog, as far as I'm concerned. Just lifeless guy right now. That's the way it's looking. This particular day, March 22nd. But like I said, I think they got some winnable games coming up. You got the Connecticut Sun. That's when you want to try to get some things going. I know Dallas Wings is coming up soon. That's when you want to get some things going. Right now, the Chicago Sky team does not look like they're going to make the playoffs at all. They're looking like really, so far, they're looking like the worst team in the league. Looking like they can't compete at all. Um, but so far they played Fever, who beat them in an emotional game, and then they lost to New York. New York, who are the real deal. The Fever thing, I don't know that they're that much worse than the Fever as the score indicated. You know what I mean? Because the Fever have not impressed me against Atlanta pretty much at all. This was a game they definitely could have lost. Atlanta really got out to the better start again. But it could also be that Atlanta matches up well against the Fever. I don't know. A lot of these things will become clearer as time moves on. Now, on a more positive note, you know, I'm glad Haley Van Lith is getting more minutes. I think she has to be an important part of what they're doing. Though I don't understand what Marsh is doing with the lineups. Right now he goes with this lineup, you know, bench lineup with Van Lith and Rachel Banham. Dude, I don't want to see Rachel Banham like at all. I'm not understanding why she's getting any minutes. Period. I don't see what she's doing to get minutes. Now she made a couple threes. Dude, I don't care about any of that. You know, she's not a good basketball player. She's not a benefit. She's not a player that's benefiting you. Um, the thing here you want Van to get more reps. I think she is going to be a productive player for the Sky. I do because despite her size and those things that may seem to be limitations, I think she has some talent. You know, the main issue I'm having with the starting lineup is I'm not sure what type of team they want to be. You would think with the Chicago Sky and with this particular lineup that the idea would be to play inside out. Um, but I guess they tried that earlier in the game. But yeah, Camilla, man, I don't know. The matchup against John Cole Jones really couldn't get anything going. Angel Reese, like I said, was terrible down there in the post as well. The defense of Brianna Stewart and John Quell just pretty much shut them down. I don't think Angel scored any points this game, which is, unacceptable. It's horrible, as a professional player. So, but it's just one of those games I don't expect to happen again. But yeah, I made no mistake, she was awful. Um, Ariel Atkins is the one I'm not understanding her role on the team. It appears to me that if you have this particular lineup, you will want Ariel Atkins to put more pressure on the defense, attack more, shoot more. Last I checked, I believe when I looked at the stats, Ariel Atkins took 6 shots, or 4 shots. So in game one she takes 6. In this game she takes 4. If this team is going to succeed at all, you're going to need Ariel Atkins to take more shots than that. Valley Malik just missed her 2 free throws. Wow, that's not good. But this is garbage time. It may not matter. Um, it was a nice little shot there by Maddie. There you go. Um, I don't know. So far, it's looking really bad for Chicago. Um, it's looking really bad. If you were to go off of just these 2 games, it looks like they're just not going to be competitive. Um, that's not me saying that yet. Like, you know, I know I did the video earlier where I was saying they gonna come out there and beat Chicago. Hey, look, man, that's just the warrior in me, man. Y'all go have to understand that. That's in my blood. I'm from a tribe of warrior scholars. That's my tribe's MO. So when an opponent is coming up, hey, look, we could be overmatched and all that. It's in my blood to just be like, hey, strap them up and let's get it. That's just me. So that's how I am. Period. But if you were to kind of put a gun in my head and ask me who I really think is going to win, if I'm going to use logic, and not go with any heart, of course. That's the Liberty. Liberty, without doubt, a better team. Um, but I've seen stranger things in games where the home team can have something to prove, at least prove that they're not as bad as people think, especially after a loss like that. Sometimes you can be more locked in. And then the team that's riding high can come in unprepared, thinking that that it's going to be easy and lose. Those things can happen. Um, Obviously, that didn't here. Team is looking bad. Coach is looking bad. Tyler Marsh is going to be getting killed, I'm sure, by his fan base. Ariel Atkins is like, I don't think she's understanding the fire she's going to be under because, this teammate had Kennedy Carter last year. And this fan base really embraced Kennedy Carter because at least Kennedy Carter showed you some dog, showed you some ability, had some very memorable games and memorable moments. And Ariel Atkins so far isn't providing any of that. She's not looking like a viable replacement for Kennedy Carter right now. What she is good at, you're not able to see because the defense doesn't matter in these games where you're getting blown out. And then the offense, she's not doing anything to stand out. So I expect there's going to be Chicago Sky fans on the same type time saying she's not good. We need Kennedy and so on. And I can't argue with them. I can't, I can't explain the passiveness. I can't explain the lack of the coach running things for her. So I can't explain any of that. There's no defense for it right now. The only thing you can do is see how you measure up against some of the lesser teams in the league. Right now, it's clear Chicago Sky is not ready. They cannot measure up to any playoff contending teams. You know, so I mean that's just that. Uh, what else? Now the Fever game, I will give an official breakdown of that game. But I was spending more time on the Chicago game. Right, the Fever, I went to it a little bit. I realized like Kayla didn't really score like she normally does. I believe Kelsey Mitchell had a really strong game. Natasha Howard bounced back really well from what she went through from last game. So that's good for her. But I gotta watch the game before I can give an official, you know, um, narration of it. I was just flipping back and forth, from this debacle here, and I don't know, man. Just let the panicking begin for Chicago Sky, man. That's inevitably what's going to happen with this. This was ridiculous and unacceptable, and I'm sure people are going to be calling for Tyler Marsh's head pretty much until the next game or until they get a win. It's looking really really bad, and then especially when you have a first round pick that you drafted who is just not even going to play this year. You got to give this fan base something to hang their hat on. So I would, if I'm them, I'm going to run Haley Van Lith a little bit with the first unit because that's really the only player that besides maybe Atkins that has a chance to keep the fan base invested. Right now I can see a situation where those games that were like sellouts are just not going to be sellouts. Start losing money, start losing attention. Angel Reese start looking bad. That's when people are going to look at Tyler Marsh, and then is a good chance if something like this continues, he might not make it past the All Star break. Definitely not make it past the year because you figure if this guy Jeff just fired Teresa Witherspoon last year, who I don't think did a bad job, all things considered. With the roster that she had, I don't think she did bad. He's clearly worse so far. So you say it's still early, things can change, but right now, not good at all, man. And that's obvious. So that's pretty much all I got on that. Sky, second game in a row, the ass whipped handily, easily. But here it is by the champions. So maybe it ain't the worst. Maybe it is. Time will tell. Alright, so thanks for coming through. Like, share, subscribe. Peace out.